What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to a brand new video here on my YouTube channel. And for those of you that are new around here and don't know who I am, my name's Aaron. I create travel, photography and videography based content here on YouTube. So if that is something that will interest you, be sure to subscribe to the channel. But as you can tell by the title today, I'm going to be discussing with you my complete guide to travel insurance. It's one of the most important things you need when you go traveling. A lot of people overlook it and a lot of people don't understand it. So I'm going to give you my tips on all aspects of travel insurance. So if you do find this video useful at any point, be sure to let me know by leaving a like. Put any comments or questions or any of your experiences with travel insurance down below in the comment section, and check out the linked playlist on screen right now, which is some more travel related content. But let's just jump straight into the video. Okay, I'm going to kick this off by discussing some of the key things that you actually need to look for when trying to find a good travel insurance policy. And the first one is to have a low excess or access or whatever it's called. Basically, it's if you need to claim, how much money you will require to pay yourself to make the claim. So obviously you would want zero, so then you don't actually have to pay anything towards it. But most policies do have some kind of excess, and basically, let's say you destroy your phone and it's a £500 phone. You don't want an excess of £400 because then you're paying £400 for them to give you £500, so you're only making £100. So you want that excess to be as low as possible. And obviously this goes for all parts of the policy. It could be something as small as just breaking something worth £20 or something like that. Or if you obviously require a lot of medical bills, if you go to America or something, you could run up a huge medical bill. It could be thousands upon thousands of pounds, in which case you probably wouldn't mind paying £200. But obviously if it's the other extreme, then you don't want to be paying 50 quid if it's only something that's worth 60 quid. So obviously get that excess as low as possible, and then if you do have to make a claim, you won't have to worry about forking out a lot of money yourself, and you can just leave it to the insurance provider to do so. Okay, next up is to make sure the cancellations and delays, as well as returning home early, is all part of the policy. Now in terms of that, it will just be a cash amount. So basically if your trip is cancelled through the flights or whatever, or if you have delays, and obviously if you have to return early through unforeseen circumstances, I believe that's how you say it, then obviously they will give you a cash amount towards whatever you've lost in terms of money. So if your flights are expensive, if your hotel was expensive, the whole trip gets cancelled, then obviously you get that money back. And you need to make sure that it is in your travel insurance policy, because if it's not, or if the amount is very low, then you will not get all of your money back. And if it's not in there altogether, if your trip gets cancelled and it's cost you thousands of pounds but it's not insured, you're screwed. You're not getting any of that money back. So do make sure it's in the policy. Again, with delays, you want to make sure that you can get some money if you're delayed for a long period of time. And obviously if you do need to return home early for reasons that you just did not see, then obviously again you can claim if it is in your policy. So make sure you keep a lookout for that. Now the next one is baggage and belongings, and they are actually different things. So in terms of your baggage, you will get a amount given to the travel insurance policy, well, within your travel insurance policy, and it's usually a couple of £1,000, maybe £1,000 or £2,000, and that just covers your baggage. But you do need to make sure that there's limits on each item. So electrical items, stuff like laptops, there may actually be a limit. So if you have a £2,000 laptop and maybe your policy covers up to £10,000 in baggage, you may think you're fine. But if you actually read the small print, there may actually be a limit on electrical items for £500 per item. So if your £2,000 laptop goes missing, you are not getting the full £2,000 back. So do make sure you read the small print. And as I said, belongings and baggage are separate things, because belongings, sometimes you will actually have to pay more to insure certain items like cameras or phones or laptops, as I said, because of the limit per item that you can claim back. So just make sure you do read the small print when you are looking into baggage and belongings. Now, personal liability is actually one that often gets overlooked, but if you are going to areas in the world, or even just going on a trip where you will participate in activities that will require this, then you do need to get a personal liability. Is basically if you injure someone else. So if you're involved in a car crash and it was your fault and you've not got personal liability, you're kind of screwed. So make sure that that's involved. And again, stuff like skiing, if you end up hurting someone on a skiing trip, obviously it's not yourself you've hurt someone else. You do need that personal liability to, obviously, if they claim against you. So just make sure that that is included in your policy if you are going to be participating in stuff like driving a car or going skiing or anything which involves potentially injuring other people. Now the big one is medical cover, and obviously it's the big one with travel insurance policies. You can see some of them go up to like £20 million worth. A lot of people say 2 million's quite fine, you know, it's enough, but I'd say go maybe a bit higher, maybe 5-10 million. You basically want the most in terms of your medical expenses, because obviously, touch wood, nothing does happen, But if something were to happen, you want to make sure that you can get the treatment that you need. You can potentially get home and stuff like that. So make sure your medical expenses are firstly included in the policy, and then that they are at an optimal level. And obviously don't run the risk of having a too low a bill. Even if the money does sound ridiculous, like £1 million or £2 million, these things do happen, although they are rare. You do need to make sure that you are covered for them. And then another big one, which people just completely ignore and just think it's a given that travel insurance companies are going to be open 24/7 with personal assistants and obviously hotlines to phone up. Make sure they have them, because some companies will just not be open all the time. Some may be 9 to 5 in the week and close completely at weekends. But if you have an emergency on the weekend, you need to be able to get in contact with them for help, for guidance and stuff like that. So make sure there is a 24/7 hotline, helpline, whatever you want to call it. Basically, make sure you can contact the travel provider, the insurance provider, whenever you need to, 7 days a week, 24/7, wherever you are in the world. Make sure you can get in contact with them. It's an absolute must when booking travel insurance. Now, the last big thing when getting your policy is make sure you declare if you have any pre-existing medical conditions. And a lot of people overlook them, especially if they're small things. Like myself, I have asthma, and most people probably wouldn't include that, but make sure you do, because if you have anything related to that medical condition, so if I had an asthma attack and I didn't declare it, then my travel insurance policy does not count. It's void, because I didn't actually declare that I had that condition. So make sure you declare it, whether it's something small or something large. Make sure you do include it in the policy. And to be fair, most of the time it's not going to change the price that much, and it's worth mentioning because it will keep you covered. Okay, now I'm actually going to talk through the 3 different types of travel insurance policies that you'll often find, which is the single trip, the annual multi-trip, and then the backpackers insurance, what all 3 do and what all 3 are good for. But let's start off with the single trip policy. Okay, so the single trip policy is as it sounds. It literally covers you for a single trip, and I tend to use these if your trip is no more than 2, maybe at a push 3 weeks long, and if you only go on trips maybe 2 times a year. If you go more than that, then you will need a different policy. But if you're going on, say, a 2-week trip, maybe even if you're just interrailing, or if you're just on a 2-week trip to Greece or something like that, and then maybe later in the year you'll do a week somewhere else, or if it's a city break and you don't go very often during the year, maybe twice a year, then the single trip policy is the one for you, because it literally just covers you for that trip, and the price is quite cheap if you are not going for very long. But if you actually try to do a single trip for maybe a 90-day backpacking trip, you will see the price becomes absolutely ridiculous. It goes like £200, £300, £400, because you obviously need a different type of provider, different type of insurance. But if you try and use the single trip insurance for them type of trips, then the price will go through the roof. Now, an annual multi-trip insurance is good for people that go on longer trips, maybe 3 to 4 weeks, and that actually can be extended with certain providers up to 60 days, but you will be pushed to find any providers that cover you for any longer than 60 days. And obviously, this type of insurance is good if you want to go on multiple trips throughout the year. So you do return home for a long period of time, but then you go again. So say you go on maybe 3 or 4 trips a year, which could be like a month long each of them. Maybe you even go on more trips. This is the one for you, because it will cover you for the full year, and it covers you for as many trips as you want, providing no trip is longer than, say, 30 days. But obviously you do need to read the small print, because it will tell you the limit on the amount of time each trip can be. So say it does say 30 days, that means you can go on 6 or 7 30-day trips throughout the year and use this single policy. And obviously, as I said, use the tips from the first part of the video to make sure that your policy is a good one. However, that type of insurance is not the best for backpackers, and the reason why is because it doesn't cover over 60 days. Some of them may stretch to 90, but it is very, very rare that they will do so. So obviously most backpackers will probably go for more than 2 months. Some of them will go for a year and obviously return home at certain points. And that's when you do need backpackers insurance. And it does actually turn out cheaper. Even if you're just going for 60 days, it's cheaper to get backpackers insurance than do a single trip insurance by quite a significant amount, as you'll be seeing on screen, just some comparisons. But what you do need to make sure with the backpacker insurance is check the small print, because sometimes they will cover you for a year, but as it is a backpacker insurance, they will actually put a limit on the amount of time you're allowed to visit home, or the amount of time of days that you're actually allowed to be at home. So it may say you're restricted to returning home twice a year, or it may say each trip home may only last 7 days. So do make sure you read up on that. And obviously, if it doesn't suit you, if you want to return home for maybe a month, you do need to check the small print, because if you do order one of these policies and it says you can only return home for 7 days, you come home for a month, then your policy is cancelled and it is no longer covering you. So do make sure you do read the small print. But the backpackers insurance is great because it does actually cover some wide range of activities which most backpackers will do depending where you go in the world. Something like scuba diving or even mountain climbing or going to see active volcanoes. Obviously not many people will go and do them unless you are a backpacker, so they are included in these type of policies for activities that most people probably wouldn't do on their holidays. So that's a great tip if you are a backpacker and you need them type of activities covered. But that is all for this video on travel insurance. I hope it's made it a bit more clear for you guys. I was in the same position on how do I get my travel insurance policy to suit me, and obviously doing a lot of research, I've realized which policy I needed, and that's why I've made this video to help some of you guys out that were in the same position as me. If you did find it useful and it did help you out, be sure to let me know by leaving a like. Put any comments or questions down below in the comment section. I'll get back to them straight away. And as I said at the start of the video, be sure to subscribe to the channel for more travel related content. And next month I will be going to Southeast Asia, so the travel vlogs will be starting then. But thank you all for watching, guys. Till next time, goodbye.